Old soul, young world.
But when it's of true positive nature and manifestation,
Old souls, young souls, and all my damn souls in between.
search deeper, dive deeper, and be like, yo,
Old soul, young world.
Old souls, young souls, and all my damn souls in between. Welcome back to another week of Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jessie Ellie. Woo! That was smooth. You guys, what is up? You already know we're back with another motivational guest, an artist, an entrepreneur, somebody who does community murals, has their own art business, works with youth in Boston and all around the South Shore and North Shore area. Welcome to the show, Pheebz Crazy Pants Art. What's poppin'? Hey. Can I fill your cup for you?
Yes, please.
Hey. I love that you're drinking with me because I feel like some of my guests come on, they're like, nah, I'll just sip water. And then I have to drink like the whole bottle by myself.
Bottle?
You know? I just be getting lit by myself, so now I gotta get lit with you.
Hey.
So I gave you your little intro, but can you let the people know, like, who the heck you are, Pheebz,
gosh. Yeah.
and where you're from, and, like, what the fuck you up to?
Sure. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
So I'm Pheebz. I am an artist in Boston. I do a whole bunch of different stuff. I'm basically based in Boston, although I don't live right in the city anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We traveling artists out here.
Yeah. I'm a public artist. I'm a mentor. I'm an illustrator. I do a whole bunch of stuff, and my big thing is collaboration and cultivating the culture for the youth.
Oof, love that. Cultivating the culture for the youth, like, that is so necessary. And I feel like being artists, it's our job to be able to give that back. You know what I mean? It's like, if you have the knowledge, the skill set, and you've already brought yourself to the point where you're able to create freely, it's like, to give back to the generations to come is the best way to carry that trajectory to, like, change the future. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So let's start off with, like, Crazy Pants Art, your official business.
Yeah.
What the heck is that, Crazy Pants? Why is it Crazy Pants? I never even actually asked you that. And when did you start it?
Okay, so Crazy Pants is actually a nickname that's been following me since 2007.
Okay.
A friend of mine gave it to me. Don't even remember why. Because I don't even really wear crazy pants.
I was going to say, are you crazy and you, like, just like pants, or what's that?
I think it was just one of those things. It's like, oh, you crazy pants, like the way you act, you know, because I hung out with a lot of dudes that were just, you know, they were into video games and sports, and I was the weird artist chick that hung out with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that name's been following me, and then Crazy Pants Art sort of evolved from that as I was going through art school at Montserrat, and it just kind of stuck.
Okay.
So I've been using that name for a while, but the LLC that I formed started in August 2022.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay, so you're like 2 years in?
Yeah, thereabouts, yeah.
That's
but
awesome.
This last year was the first year that we really started making any money.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. We it's mostly a way for me to collect the funds from the public art murals I do, but we also do art installations, we do transport, we do curation for people. If you need some paintings moved, we can do that for you.
So it's multifaceted, kind of. It's not like one set thing.
Yeah.
And is it just you as Crazy Pants Art?
No, so I am a 50-50 partner with my friend Christina. She's the manager, business person behind the scenes, helps me to do all my scheduling, helps me with balancing the books. I've never really done a lot of that myself and still learning.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been a super support system for me. So
it's important to have people who are on the same page as you when it comes to like the financial and the behind the scenes aspects. Like, it's great to be an artist, but then when it comes to making it like an actual business and getting revenue and having to stay organized and
Literally.
the scheduling, it's like, I can't do it all. You know what I mean? It's great to have people support you.
It is, because most of the time, I know a lot of artists who are doing it all themselves. They're doing their own marketing, their own website. It's where do you find the time to actually make your work?
Literally.
It's a lot.
Yes.
So it's nice to have somebody else doing a little bit of that.
That's awesome.
Old Soul Young World.
And I know that you said she loves the drops. She loves the drops. I know you said you went to art school, but obviously your passion for art, I'm sure, started before that. What is your first memories of you getting into art? Was it painting, illustration? What was your inspiration for that?
Yo, honestly, it started when I was a kid because I couldn't sit still. So anytime we would go out to restaurants, my parents always gave me crayons. Give her something to do, dude. So I was always drawing on
and we didn't have phones back then.
We didn't. Yeah. So I'd have 5 stuffed animals and I'd be scribbling and I remember just anything I could find to draw on, I would. I think even the inserts for the tights, that crappy shiny cardboard.
Yes.
I would draw on that. I just always draw. I was very into comic books. My grandmother was this scary French lady, and she only bought me things that she approved of. So she bought me these comic books called The Adventures of Tintin, and
never heard of that.
They were literally he's got to be in his 20s, and he's this little dude, and he goes around the world getting into trouble, and it's always with drug rings and gangsters.
I love how your grandma gave you this.
Gun runners. Yeah, it was just because the guy spoke French and they were originally in French, she got them for me. Didn't care about the content or anything.
Right.
It's very outdated too, so there's a lot of problematic depictions of what people thought other people looked like. Some of it's definitely propaganda.
Yeah.
But at the time as a kid, it was these stories were so riveting.
Right.
So I would copy frames I liked from the different books, and that turned into copying Calvin and Hobbes.
Wow.
And then as I grew up, I got more and more into more of the underground comics, and then anime.
Okay.
So it was almost always pens and Sharpies.
Wow.
And then it slowly evolved into painting and digital work and some printmaking and stuff like that.
That's super dope.
Yeah.
And it's it's really cool to think about the concept of you being inspired by comic books, being able to expand your imagination to then lean into creating your own. And it's when people, you said, they were giving you crayons, oh, you never stop moving, so do this. And it's really that played into you being able to develop a skill set that otherwise maybe you wouldn't have had that opportunity to be exposed to.
Definitely.
Which is really awesome. And I feel nowadays, I was saying, it's really just you hand a kid a tablet or a phone or an iPad. And it's how do we keep sparking that inspiration and creativity in youth, even with so much technology involved nowadays, you know what I mean? And I feel it's through people like you, and you carry over those techniques, and it's here's the key, you know what I mean? Here's something that nobody else will teach you. And that's what you've been doing kind of through your art murals, and also through, I want to shout out Artists for Humanity.
Hey.
You've been working with them for about 9 years, I think you said?
Yep, 9 years.
That's super, super dope. So besides your own personal Crazy Pants art business, and doing your own pieces and all installations, all of that, what exactly do you do, and what is Artists for Humanity?
Okay, so I know that their mission statement has changed, and I do not have it memorized.
No worries.
So I'm going to paraphrase, but Artists for Humanity, it's an organization in South Boston that's been employing teenagers in the Boston area in creative jobs for 30 plus years. I think they're going on 35 years.
Wow.
So it started in this lady's studio in SOA, which is the Society of Working Artists in South End. And it grew from maybe 7 teens to, I think we have something like 300 teens a year now.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's huge.
Wow.
And the basic model is that they are working in different creative studios like painting, graphic design, photo, 3D, and they're working alongside professional working artists like myself, and they learn how to be young entrepreneurs. They learn how to show up on time to a job. They learn the value of their time, their efforts, and they learn skills. So I started as a painting mentor, and I've been doing that the whole time. But I also worked for their exhibitions program for about 3 years, and that involved a lot of curation, working with clients, and selling the teens' work. So that was actually another lucrative way for them to learn the value of their work, was to create work that sells, at least, you know, maybe not even that it sells, but that it is to a certain caliber where it might sell.
Right.
And then we push those things and see who wants them.
Right.
So it was always a really nice feeling, because a lot of teens, you know how hard they work on their pieces.
Right.
You know how much effort they put in, the struggles, the emotional battles that they go through just trying to pick up a paintbrush sometimes. And then to see like their eyes when they sell a painting is such a good feeling. It's like my favorite part of the job.
That's so great. And it's like you also get to keep expanding your own skills while you're teaching them too.
Yep.
Like kind of like a dual process. But through like working with Artists for Humanity and the youth, do you feel like you see them having these tools that it helps develop like their own self-confidence or their own like personal skill sets, like something, I don't know, relating to like you and when you were growing up? Do you kind of see that in your students?
I do, a lot. I have so many kids that I've watched grow from being very quiet, very shy, very unsure of themselves to, I mean, I think they all do amazing things, even if they don't become artists, right? Because we don't push that narrative on them. It's like, you're here to learn these things, but we also support you if you want to be a doctor or a tradesperson or anything, right? But, you know, it's always kind of really exciting for me when teens I know who have struggled with depression and ideations that they've chosen life and that they've succeeded, and then seeing them move on to better things for themselves that they never really envisioned. I have one kid who moved on and had got a free tuition ride to Maine College of Art.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, I have a few kids who got that, and I'm super proud of them. And, you know, a lot of them, they grow up and they become my friends, and then we collaborate later on down the road.
Yeah, it's super beautiful.
It's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just like relate so much because like I myself, I'm an artist, I'm a painter. I don't do it actively as much anymore. But when I was a teenager, I really started to develop this just like love for mixed media and especially watercolor. I really like always had this connection with watercolor.
You're gonna have to show me some stuff.
I'm gonna show you. I definitely will. We'll have to talk more like about some collaboration stuff. But I started with acrylic like when I first started, and because of like my anxiety, like I would get frustrated. I felt like I had to like stay in the lines or do things exact, and like I was working with an art teacher at the time. My art teacher was like, I don't know, 70. Like I was like in middle school. So it was obviously a big different dynamic, but when she saw me struggling with the acrylic and like getting so frustrated about it, she was like, we're going to switch to watercolor because you don't have as much control over it. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to let it flow and you have to let like do what it does, but also be more fluid about what your outcome is going to be instead of like getting frustrated when you're trying to do like right inside the lines or like whatever. And that was one of the most like the best techniques that ever helped me. And it was just somebody who was older than me, a mentor that I looked up to, literally putting a different type of brush in my hand and just being like, just try this. And like that expanding me into like being able to see my own self-worth and like how much I had to give while I was going through like depression, anxiety, self-harm, while also finding myself as an artist. You know what I mean? It's very weird. And like when you work with youth, and I work with youth as well, but you can really reflect and look at them and see yourselves in them and be like, wow, like, you know, if I just had, everything happens how it's supposed to happen, but if I had had this Artist for Humanity when I was younger, if I knew how to do this at a certain age, like maybe I wouldn't have gone through those struggles. So being able to give that to youth, it's like maybe I can take a little bit of their struggle away to help to get them to success quicker. And it's just it's a rewarding feeling. But besides that, it still helps me grow within myself when I'm able to work with youth and like still be able to reflect on my past. And I'm just wondering, like, through your own self as an artist and like, you know, where you've come from in your journey, do you feel like you ever reflect and see yourself in these students from like, whether it be personal struggle, or I don't know if you've dealt with any anxiety or depression or mental health or anything like that that like forced you to kept creating?
Yeah, all the time. I see them in me all the time. I think it's like growing up as a teen for myself, I didn't fit in. I was in a small town high school system. I was the weirdo. I was the big kid. I remember even early in my schooling, like third grade, maybe it was the first time somebody called me like a derogatory word.
Wow.
And so I battled with that pretty much through my entire public school experience, dealing with bullying, dealing with homophobia, dealing with fat phobia. And I was really, like, honestly, extremely depressed most of the time. I still deal with depression a lot. And I self-harmed for years. I think my, like, earliest memory, I think I was 9.
Wow.
And I actively stopped in 2012. So it's a long time. And honestly, I agree with you. I think that, you know, yes, I wish that I had had something like Artists for Humanity. I wish that maybe I had learned sooner my own worth or whatever. But at the same time, because those things happened the way that they happened, I can't really regret it. And it is a part of me and who I am. So a lot of times when I see this in the students that I'm teaching, I try to like let them know that even though it doesn't feel normal and people are going to tell you it's not normal, it's actually very normal. It's very much a lot of people's experiences, and it's okay to like acknowledge that. And so it's hard though, because sometimes I feel like I see myself so much in a teen that I actually get mad, and I have to step back and be like, why am I mad, right? And then I have to reflect on that and be like, oh, it's because this is my experience, and I'm actually mad at myself for the way that I acted, and it's not their fault at all. So I try to like apply it back to the painting process. I try to bring it back to the canvas. It's easier that way. I'm not certified to actually deal with any emotional counseling.
Yeah.
I can only really speak from my own experiences.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm pretty open with them about my past and sharing my experiences with them to help them get forward too.
That's really important. And I just want to thank you for just being that mentor for other young people who like I said, like, I'm just glad to see that there's still things going on or businesses being started like Crazy Pants Art, and also your duo that we'll get into in a moment. But you do so much young woman empowerment with a lot of inner city youth that wouldn't have the opportunity to be exposed to the conversations that they get with you. So just shout out to you for being just an inspirational, awesome person.
Thank you.
And taking art and using that to help others. Because I feel like at the end of the day, like, our bodies are going to go one day, but like what legacy are you leaving, you know? And I feel like through all these little seeds you keep planting in the future, like, these kids that you worked with are going to be the mural artists that are around Boston.
I can't wait. All those kids need to be on walls. They're all so talented, and they got stories to tell too.
Definitely.
I can just show them how to move some like plastic around on a piece of cloth. Like that's all it is.
You're doing way more than that. But let's get into your duo, because you have so many different parts and pieces of who you are and what you do and like what makes Pheebz. But can you tell us a little bit about Girly Pop? Duo. I'll just let you take it from there. Sure. But like, what is Girly Pop and what do you guys do?
So Girly Pop is a painting duo between myself and my studio mate Ananda. Ananda Toulon. She's on Instagram. She actually started as a teen in the program. And
wow.
We've just
this is one of those collaborations that came to fruition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome.
That's
so
dope.
She's a badass. Like when I met her, she was a senior in high school and her work was already like so amazing. It was clear that she had the same kind of drive of I need to create to stay alive. Mm-hmm. And
I really like that.
Literally. Yeah. And I saw so much of my own interests in the things that she was interested in, the things that she was writing about, the things that she was drawing, painting, collaging, just everything. She's the only other kid I've ever met who had like a sketchbook this big. And when I was in high school, that was my favorite format. So she kept these journals for the 4 years she was in high school that were all in these giant sketchbooks. And I was in awe of her. And then on and off, she kept coming back to Artists for Humanity for different positions. Yeah. And this last time that she came back, she was in need of a studio space that was outside of her living situation and outside of AFH. Mm-hmm. And I had come upon a larger studio at my spot in Dorchester, Humphrey Street. Mm-hmm. And once we got the bigger space, I said, hey, do you want to move in with us and share the space? Because I know you need it. And she said, yes, please. Oh, my God. And it started with us doing small things together, tabling events. And then she started getting invited to do live painting. So our first kind of big collaboration outside of Artists for Humanity, where we had done a lot of murals together, was a BAMS Fest last year.
Okay, that's fire.
So she was live painting and she asked me to be her support role, and we ended up painting a huge banner and just having a whole lot of fun. Like everybody we knew showed up. Mm-hmm. It was a party. It was really funny how many people came and just sat around the live painting area the whole day.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And then we started just doing more live painting events together, getting asked to come back, and we've made a few pieces, and we feel like, or at least at the point, we were sort of gravitating towards this concept of found family, which we both feel a little bit estranged from the idea of family for very different reasons, but we found family in each other, we found family in the friends that we congregate with, and the idea of like basically building your own, taking your own village and doing a bunch of stuff together.
Definitely. I love that term, by the way. I'm sorry to cut you off.
It takes a village?
Well, found family.
Yeah.
Because I've said it on my show literally like, I don't know, 5 times or more, but like you're born to a family, and then as you get older, you create a family, and you surround yourself with people who are healthy for you and see you for who you are. Just because you're biologically born to somebody doesn't mean that that's a healthy relationship for you. And it also doesn't mean that that's going to be your key support system or someone you can lean on. Like, our parents create us, but it doesn't mean that our parents are always going to be there for us. You know what I mean? So that term found family is just very cool and special that you guys narrowed it to like one term. I really like that.
Thank you.
And did you guys do pieces based on that concept?
Yeah, we had a live painting gig that we were separately invited to do. Okay. In Uppin's Corner, DSNI Multicultural Fest.
Very cool.
Our friend from Copper Collective, Sean, invited us. He was organizing all of the art side of the festival. And we said, hey, can we do our two pieces next to each other? And he said, sure, do what you got to do. So we ended up just smashing two canvases together instead of having separate pieces.
Love that.
And we painted each other.
You painted her and she painted you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we
just
have
freehand?
So yeah, we paint to each other's strengths. Mm-hmm. So she's way more loose, abstract, organic. She uses colors that shouldn't belong, which I do too, but I think I'm a little bit more controlled. Yeah. And which can honestly make my work look stiff sometimes. And so when we work together, her organic stuff helps my stuff, and then my controlled stuff helps her stuff. So
nice balance between it.
Yeah, so we did like weird abstract backgrounds together, and then we were like, all right, so what are we doing? And I said, well, found family, should we just paint each other? And she said, yeah, let's do it. So we literally took photos while the paint was drying, and then, you know, painted each other, flip-flopped a few times. Yeah. Really confused people. It's like, are you painting yourself, or are you painting her? I don't know.
That's so cool.
But that was the nature of Girly Pop, and that name kind of came up, I think, shortly after that. Mm-hmm. We were like, you know, this is something that we keep doing. Let's just come up with a name. And that was what we kept calling our friend's dog. That
I was not expecting
easy there,
that.
Girly Pop. Like, slow down, Girly Pop. So then we were like, we should just be Girly Pop.
That's so cute.
So we're Girly Pop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just like a crew name. It's not like a business. It's not like an LLC.
It's not a business. No, okay. It's just our crew name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Oh, man, you just have so much going on. It's just so dope in all different sectors. But I do want to shout out one of your most recent big projects, and you can say what you can say about it. I'm not sure if this is a little NDA, but the stairwell that you had painted, I believe with Michael Talbot was the artist. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about that, like, art installation that you're doing, and who is Michael Talbot, and what do you guys do together?
Yeah, so Michael and I both started as mentors at the same time. Okay. We weren't teens in the program, which is unusual for mentors. Usually mentors who've been hired in the past are usually alumni. Mm-hmm. But there were alumni who had faith in us as artists that asked us to come apply. And we both got the job. Nice. So we both started in summer 2015, and we got to know each other through the program. And I don't know when he and I really started working together. I think it might have been we did a small mural at a ramen shop. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a Shop of Dreams. Yumewo Katare in Porter Square. Okay. It's bomb.
But it's a ramen shop. But it's called Shop of Dreams.
But it's a Shop of Dreams. You go and you share a bowl of ramen with everybody in the restaurant, and when you finish, you share your dreams. And
what?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this before.
It's amazing. It's like one of the best spots around.
That sounds so unifying. Like, wow.
The only thing is it's pork only, so if you don't eat pork.
I'm a vegetarian, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, all right. But count me out. But that's very cool, though.
It's cool. So Michael had been doing some work for them, and then he asked me, or maybe the shop owner, Jake, asked me if I wanted to work with them to create a new mural. And the murals change all the time. Mm-hmm. So we did a piece together, and then I think from there it was just kind of kept turning into like, hey, I got this going on. Do you want to help? Or we just kept collaborating.
Super cool.
Yeah. So we he called me and asked me if I wanted to apply for this staircase project last year. Mm-hmm. I said sure. I sent my stuff along, and we got it. And it was through Cambridge Crossing, Artworks, and Cambridge Community Arts Center. Mm-hmm. And Cambridge Crossing was the client who had the staircases, and they were looking to do a community art project with some local artists and some form of a youth community programming. Okay. So they selected us, and they selected Community Art Center, and Michael and I had 4 design sessions with a group of teens in the public arts program.
Okay, very cool.
And we based our designs off of some of the elements from different kids' designs. And we painted 2 very big staircases in about a month's time.
Wow.
It was a lot of work. My back hurt. My knees hurt.
I can imagine.
It was hot.
It was during the summertime too?
It was like May, June,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
very hot for some reason. I don't know. It felt like we had a lot of 90-degree days for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely.
But we had like a lot of fun, and I'd actually worked with the client before through Artists for Humanity, so it was exciting to work with the same people again. And we had Artworks as our consultant. Mallory Ryman is like very helpful to a lot of the artists in Boston, so she was sort of the person who helped us to coordinate and communicate. She's an amazing person. She is an amazing person.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
and we did a whole piece. One side says one love, one planet, one people, one dream, many hearts.
Ooh.
And then the other side is visuals that represent the words. So because it's Cambridge, we had for one dream, we wanted to tie into the science and tech part of Cambridge, so we did DNA strips.
Yep. Very cool.
We did a whole bunch of motifs. I don't know. It was a really fun project. It was challenging. It was the first staircase I've ever painted.
Wow.
So
that's
there was
huge.
a big learning curve, but
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun, and it's always easier to figure it out when you have somebody else doing it with you.
Definitely, because you guys can go off of each other and see like exactly like who has what strengths and weakness, and kind of, well, just like you and kind of the Girly Pop thing, and you guys switching and doing different styles.
Yep.
Or like, you know what I mean? It's definitely a team effort.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing community initiatives. And you know, I'm just wondering, like, it seems like from listening to you talk, all the art pieces that you do and the projects you do, they have some form of like social justice or advocating for something, or just like your beliefs kind of mixed in with your art. Do you feel like over time, because I'm thinking about Boston right now, and like over the last 10 years, so you've been at Artists for Humanity for 9, do you feel like the scene has become more expansive in the like social justice art scene, or just like in general, like just expanding more in the city? Or what's your take on that? Like, we put like, I'm just gonna give an example and then I'll let you go, but like, I feel like there was so much debate over an art installation for Martin Luther King Jr. I don't know if you saw it.
Embrace.
The Embrace piece.
Yeah.
And there was just so much different conversation surrounding it, both positive, both negative. And then as of recent, there's been, I think, 10 to 15 art installations installed in Boston, big pieces. I don't actually know what initiative that's through. But what's your take on like the expansion of art over the years?
Well, okay, so Boston is trying. Boston is changing.
They're trying for sure.
They are trying.
Yeah.
I think that there's been more opportunities more recently. I think so. It really depends on who's paying. It really depends on what they're looking for.
For sure.
There's definitely a lot of buzzwords that people use in all of their requests for proposals, which is, you know,
I'm so glad you brought that up.
RFPs are great and also terrible. It's competitive. They talk about equity, inclusion, community. Everybody says they don't want rainbow washes, but then it always ends up being rainbow washes. I think that there's a fine line between commissioning an artist for what they can do and commissioning an artist because they want to hit some check boxes.
I was going to say, because it looks good for them, diversity or inclusion wise, to be working with community artists, to be having like a mural on the wall of their building.
Right, exactly.
Even though they're probably not representing those values within their own company sometimes.
Yeah, so, you know,
It's kind of political.
It gets political, and I
Yeah.
think just being an artist in general is a political act, whether you want it to be or not.
For sure.
It's you're putting
Comes with the
yourself,
role.
yeah, you're putting yourself into society, you're putting yourself into the community. Whatever you end up making is a representation and an extension of your own values. So
Right.
yes, you are representing your client by giving them what they want, but you still want to make sure that your own flavor is in there.
Right.
And sometimes that's really tough,
Yeah.
especially depending on who the client is and what it is they want. And I think the problem that I have a little bit with the way that artists are selected is that it needs to be a bit broader as far as who gets picked. I think sometimes someone sees one thing you do and then they only want you to do that thing.
Right.
Versus, but there's an artist over here who might actually fit your need better. And if you gave them that opportunity or talked to them or looked at their work instead of just selecting the name that you want, right? So RFPs are definitely a way to break that.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes they just do it to say that they did it.
Yeah.
To say that they made it accessible, but they already had somebody in mind.
Right. Right.
So there's that.
Yeah.
I think also doors are opening, however, and a lot of that is thanks to the generation before us. Shout out to Pro Black. He's my mentor, my friend. He's my family. I love that dude so much. He has taught me so much, and he has opened so many doors for so many people. I mean, he has raised a very high percentage of everybody's kids in Boston for the last 30 years. And now he's raising his own kid, and he did a painting of her at the Greenway across from South
gorgeous.
Station.
It's so gorgeous. Yes.
And for him to do that wall, for him to be a Boston-based Black artist painting on that wall is amazing.
Legendary.
They extended it an extra year because it's so good.
Right.
So I know he's doing the work. I know his crew is doing the work. Go 5, Take 1.
Let's go.
Soames, all those dudes.
Name drop.
And they're all like inspiring for me, and a lot of other people. And I know that the work is being done.
Right.
It's just making sure that we're holding the city accountable. Holding our clients accountable.
For sure.
I know that even with a name like Pro Black, I know sometimes people want certain things from him and he's like, but I work this way, right?
Yeah, right.
So understanding that artists are still going to show up as themselves and supporting what they need instead of trying to push them into a box, right?
Right, exactly.
But money talks.
Yep,
So
it does.
sometimes it's hard, right?
And actually, I kind of want to pivot off that because that was the next point I want to bring up about the money aspect, the financial aspect. Like, being a full-time artist, it's beautiful to say, it's empowering, it's just like a dream when you hear it, but when you're living being a full-time artist, there is so much that goes into investment, self-worth, understanding how much to ask for a piece, what you ask for, what you accept, what you have to say no to. And I know myself coming up, like, I used to do a lot of live art shows. So I'd be going, community events, hip-hop events, I'd bring my piece, I'd be doing 1 piece, 2 pieces throughout the night while performances are going on. I would leave the night, I didn't sell any paintings, I had trekked all my stuff to Boston, I had carried everything through the streets, my back was hurting. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that goes in. I'm sure you know.
4-foot paintings on the commuter rail, no big deal.
No big deal. Like,
walking down the street like this.
Yes. Like, literally the back end of shit that people don't understand. And like, I was gonna ask you with like a lot of the community mural stuff and a lot of the stuff that you're commissioned for young artists who are listening in and who are interested in like being mural artists or getting more involved in like being a full-time artist, how does the commission go for like community stuff? How does like the payment stuff go? Is it always is it laid out in the contracts? Is it in the RFPs when they put them out? Or is it kind of like, how does that work for you when you're getting paid as an artist is pretty much what I want to know.
It totally depends.
Okay.
Sometimes the
Very
RFP
fluid.
will say, this is what we're offering. Some RFPs will ask you to budget. And the thing too is that anytime you collect a certain amount of money for something,
Yep.
you never go below that again.
Exactly. Oh, she gets it.
So, as you get better, your product increases in value. And
my price is not the same today as it was yesterday.
Literally. I saw this thing once. It said, why should I pay you this much money for something that took you 10 minutes to do? And the artist says, it took me 10 years to be able to do it in 10 minutes. And I always think about that.
That was such a good quote.
I'm like, I've been doing this my whole life. I'm practicing every day. I'm putting in the effort every day.
Right.
And even if it's like just a quick, silly drawing at the end of the day, it's something.
Right.
And as long as you are putting in that work, it should be taken seriously. And I think I still have a problem with pricing myself.
Yeah.
Especially when it's on an individual basis.
Yeah.
I tend to undersell my smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Because I want it to be accessible for people. I know not everybody can afford $1,000 paintings.
Right.
$10,000 paintings, whatever, right? I've never sold a painting for $10,000, but I have friends who have. I have friends who definitely have.
And that's the thing. It's so and I just bring it up because when I was started to do my art shows, I would have original pieces, and I remember selling original pieces on good ass paper, good ass paint for $20, $10, $15. And I'm like, how many hours did it take me to make that piece? And what you just said, the techniques, the art classes I was taking, the practice I was doing outside the art classes, everything that played into, and then the emotional struggle of just trying to push yourself to keep going, to put yourself in those positions. You know what I mean? And then as I got older and I started valuing myself more and seeing what I really was creating, how much time was put in, and after me Googling okay, how much should I sell for this? And they're breaking it down by per inch depending on how much product you use.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't fucking price it like that. But getting to the point where I'm selling pieces for $250, $300, all of that, but also learning from my mistakes. And that was a huge part of it too, the learning aspect, the learning curve of changing myself from an artist to a business. Did you ever fuck up on your way of changing from when you were going to LLC Crazy Pants Art to just being woo, I'm Pheebz Crazy Pants Art? Do you feel like there was a learning curve for you to start realizing oh shit, this is a business and I have to carry myself like that, even though I'm just a creative, expressive person?
I think I still fuck up all the time, to be honest.
Let's be real about that, real clear about that.
Literally, I think, I'm still learning how to say no, which is a big part of it.
Huge.
Sometimes it's I really need to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So I might take a project that I don't necessarily want to do.
Yep.
And then I'm kicking myself because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Wait till the last second.
Yeah.
Definitely kicked myself a few times. There are people, unfortunately, I think, who are still waiting for something. And usually when it gets to that point where, a friend asks me to do something and I say, yeah, sure. And then time moves because I keep getting other projects and those projects have more of a deadline.
Yeah.
I put things to the wayside.
Right.
And when it gets past a certain number of years, I don't charge. When I finally do it, it's please just have it.
Please take it.
Please, I'm so sorry. It's really nothing personal. It's just I'm really trying to make it work.
Yes.
And part of having a business partner is being organized and being able to stay on task a little bit more, which is nice.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think you're always learning and you're always going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You just got to roll with it.
And it's beautiful to hear that. Even a seasoned artist, 10 years in the game, you're still learning of how to do these processes, of how to price your stuff, of how to value yourself, of when to say no and how to say no. And so anybody listening in, if you're a young artist, just remember it doesn't come overnight. You do have to learn. There's different ways that you learn, and don't let other people discourage you from that process, because we all have to figure out in a different way. And, you know, I do, like I said, you got so much going on. Also want to jump into another nonprofit that you're a part of, that you do installations of local art in hospitals.
Yeah.
You know, I'm got so many notes. I don't have the name right in front of me, but
It's fine.
please tell us about that.
Yeah, so the People's Heart.
The People's Heart. Yes.
I am co-artistic director.
Ooh.
We are a we're an organization that takes local artists' work and we create prints and we do installations in hospitals. We have one down the street. It's at Salem Hospital, mostly in the MGH and Brigham and Women's circle right now.
Yeah.
But trying to branch out more. We've done installations in Chelsea, JP.
That's awesome.
Headquarters we're working with right now to make some stuff happen. And we've gotten a lot of really great reception from doctors, staff, clients, patients.
Yeah.
When we're installing in the middle of the day while everybody's walking through.
Right.
And it's really exciting to see them, their faces light up like, oh, it's so much nicer than blank walls
Right.
or stock photos of trees, you know.
Why does it have to be bland? Like, if there's already, you know, a lot of stuff going on in hospitals where people are going through a lot of emotional, you know what I mean? Creating an environment that's more welcoming.
Exactly.
And being able to express themselves, or being able to see something where it's like more expressive, it's like, it just makes you, it uplifts your spirits.
It does.
You know, it definitely does.
It does. And a lot of the work, too, is from the people versus just, you know, what people think is good art versus art that is expression and celebration of various heritages. There's one series of work called Off the Grid that's all photography by people who are or were homeless in Lynn.
Okay. Wow.
It's very, like, we have a lot of different types of work. I installed some pieces that were from the Holy Festival. Excuse me. You know, people covered in different pigments of color, dancing joyfully. There's pieces that we have that are photographs of a bunch of murals in Lynn, like Marca 27, Don Rymix. There's so many.
And how did you actually get involved with them? Or, well, yeah, I'm like, how do you even keep track of all of these things you're doing?
Oh my God, I
The
don't
beauty
even
of being
know,
a full-time
dude.
artist.
I guarantee I'm going to be only skimming the iceberg because there's just so much. So another community situation that I work with is called Voices of Liberation.
Okay.
They have a storefront in JP called Scope HQ. And I had been invited to take part in some art shows there through my friends at AOA Supply.
Okay.
And we had a meeting after the art show about how we thought it went. And the show was actually a private event for MGH doctors to come unwind after the holidays.
Wow.
And they bought a bunch of our work. And so Ananda and I were in that. And we showed up to the meeting. And we talked about, hey, you know, there's ways that you can do this where it wouldn't be as last second. There's ways to properly hang stuff, label stuff. There's ways that we can help you make this easier if you'd like us to. And they said, yes, please. We ran some workshops for the community artists to learn, you know, how to properly put hardware on your pieces, things like that, how to curate, how to document, how to have a database of what you have in stock. And then from there, we had another show called Artivism, which was art show, but also a tabling event. There was a lot of community. It wasn't community aid because people were actually purchasing things, but a lot of the money from the event went to community aid for Feed the Hood, which is another program that Scope does. Every Sunday they go out and they bring groceries and cooked meals to different projects in Boston.
Wow.
Which is really cool.
That's very cool.
And so we were at the show, and this guy, Dan, came up to us, and he said, "Oh, you guys are the art installers? Like, you know what you're doing?" And we were like, "Yeah."
Something like that.
We're like, "Yeah, we can do it." We both worked in exhibitions in a few different places, and he said, "Oh, like, give me your contacts because I'm running this initiative, and I need some art installers." And we didn't even think anything of it. And then he got back in contact with us, and he said, I run the People's Heart, and this is what we do. Would you be interested in doing this? And we said, yeah.
Wow.
And so we've been doing that for almost a year, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Wow. Congrats on literally all of these initiatives, because each thing that you're talking about is just so important and expansive in different parts of the community. Like, we've talked about school environments, we've talked about youth, we've talked about hospitals. You know what I mean? It's just like realizing that art plays a piece in every part of life, you know? And when you're a true artist, you can see that and sense it, and then you can make the world a better place by incorporating it into what you do. And I do also want to ask you, like, do you have any future murals coming up in the new year? Do you have any current murals you're working on, or like anything under wraps that's going to be coming out?
So Ananda and I finished our last mural in November. It was through another initiative called Inspire Through Art, which was founded by our friends Go5 and Take One.
Okay.
And it was basically a way for them to get murals in schools.
Okay.
So we just did one at the Patrick Linden Pilot School in West Roxbury, and that was received so well. All of the little kids who were playing in the playground would come and like check it out, and this one girl was dancing. She was so excited.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So I'm hoping that this year we'll be doing more with ITA, possibly at Madison High or the Hennigan.
Cool.
There's a few schools that they have relationships with, but I don't know too much yet. So, you know, there's stuff on deck.
A lot in the works.
Yeah, but just waiting for one of them to say, okay, it's go time.
Super dope.
Yeah.
Patience is virtue.
It is, it is. And, you know, wintertime is all of our downtime when it comes to
sure.
that. We're doing different types of work right now, and a lot of it is more isolated, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know, summer hits and then we all see each other again.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's one thing that might be happening. I'm applying to a bunch of stuff right now.
Cool.
So I don't have anything super lined up yet.
Yep.
But I have ideas of where I'd like to be and what I'd like to do.
Awesome.
I'm working with Ananda to figure out which ones we're applying to together and which ones we're applying to separately.
Yeah.
And honestly, even when I just kind of go with the flow, the work finds me. So I really do take a lot of faith in the way things move and all the networking that I do.
Yes.
And how connected we all are.
Yes.
It's just like you said, you know, I'm in the hospitals and I'm in the community and I'm with the youth and I'm doing all these things. But really, at the end of the day, it's because those things are all connected too.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, even to the point where I think I ran into my friend's girlfriend at one of the hospitals we were working at, and she works there. You know, like everybody's so ingrained in the city that
it's like a third degree of separation.
Exactly.
Know? And like, I've said this on my other shows, and it's just so important. But like, it reminds me of what you're saying when you're talking about. But like, luck tends to bet on those emotion, and you're in motion and you're active, and because you're active, the opportunities are coming to you, and because you're accepting those opportunities, you're then meeting people who you were supposed to meet to then get to the next step and next level. And it really is like, it's funny, it's so great that you said it, because I was going to ask you this question, but if you could kind of expand on like the importance of networking as an artist, and like what does that mean to you as an artist to network, and like how important is it in how far you've come today from a decade ago? So wow, a decade ago almost was when a decade ago was probably when I was in my senior year of college. And
I remember going to First Friday at SOA for my first time ever, and I was wearing this t-shirt my friend had got me in Italy that said fuck in huge letters. And I went to one of the fanciest galleries, and I was looking at the curation, and I was looking at the way that the owner presented her business, and I was just like, wow. And I walked right up to the gallery owner, and I started asking her all these questions, like, just like, who is this girl? Like, why is she talking to me? But she was so receptive to it. And she ended up sending me, like, something that she wrote for a quarterly magazine or something that was all about her business and answering a bunch of the questions that I had. And I remember that kind of being one of my first, like, real moments where I understood networking as, you know, you don't have to be different. You can be yourself.
Yes.
And if you know what you're trying to ask and you're not afraid to ask it, people are more receptive to that.
Right.
So I always thought of network as more of the schmoozing, right? Like, oh, you go and you drink wine and you talk. And some people have an air about them and other people don't. And when I realized that every opening I went to, everybody who would be kind of just in like normal clothes or just more laid back, a lot of times those are the artists.
Right.
And I've met so many cool people who, you know, they don't try too hard, which is nice. And I feel like that's really what networking is just showing up. You
Exactly.
know, you don't have to talk about the fact that you make work. Just talk to the artist, ask the artist stuff, because I think having more organic conversations with people in those settings will make you more memorable than I'm Crazy Pants Art and this is what I do. Yeah. Let me like show you up at your own opening. That just doesn't.
Instead, it's like just being the person you are and you're individual and like just carrying that essence of being like a real ass person. You know? And I feel like also with networking, it's just so important to be able to expand yourself in the community. And like I remember when I started doing like all the stuff I was doing, and I was like struggling with the anxiety and depression and feeling this imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not good enough to go to these events. I'm not good enough to talk to these seasoned artists or poets or whatever, whoever it was. Just being in rooms where I felt super uncomfortable. And then realizing years and years later, like, I had to be uncomfortable. I had to be put in those situations and force myself to even whether I had an anxiety attack before I went in the event or not, I still showed up. And that's what you just said. It's really about showing up, showing face, and being you and being your unique self. Like, you don't have to try to be anybody else. And that's like a huge part of Old Soul Young World, not being anybody else but who you feel your soul is and who you feel like your person is and your purpose is past your physical body, you know? And I just wonder, like, for you, when you've been going through this journey of finding yourself, and I remember you said, like, when you were in school, like, you felt like, you know, there was a lot of phobias and a lot of negativity coming at you and a lot of judgment and hurtful words, like, what within yourself, what have you done within yourself to be able to, no matter what happens or on the down days or like what it is, be motivated to just be who you are and keep going? Like, has there been any things that have helped you? And especially for anyone listening in, I know you're like an advocate for like LGBTQ, plus queer, like, etc. Like anybody, and aside from that, just like feeling different, feeling out of place. Do you have any advice for like any of those people who might be listening in who've gone through that also? Yeah. No matter what, there's always going to be bad days. There's still days where it's hard for me to get up and do anything. And you still have to sometimes celebrate those smaller accomplishments. Yes. Because it's way better than beating yourself up, because what you're going to do when you beat yourself up, you're just going to
fall back into it. You're going to make it worse, and then it becomes a hole that you just keep digging deeper and deeper. But if you say, like, okay, I took a walk today, or like, oh, I drank water today, like sometimes it's that basic.
Yes.
And I really think too, what works for me, even when I really don't want to, is going and being social. I think I do need a lot of recharge time, but a lot of times the thing that gets me out of it is going to art shows, going to work, networking with other people, taking a walk in the city, and just, if you have an hour of time to just walk, you walk, and then you see something, or you go, oh, I'm thirsty, I'm going to stop in this shop, and then someone compliments you on your shoes or something, and those little things, like, mean a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in that mode.
Definitely.
So I definitely think push yourself to leave the house. Push yourself to drink water. Did you eat today? That'll keep you going. I think, 15 minutes a day makes a practice. If you can draw for 15 minutes a day, it'll turn into an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours really fast.
I love that.
Yeah. If you really want it, then you'll push yourself to do it.
For sure.
Even when it's hard.
Definitely. And, speaking of things being hard, like, we go through things in our journeys of becoming an artist. And I feel like when we talk about artists, like, my sensitivity, my emotions, my mental and spiritual are at, like, an elevated level. And I feel like a lot of artists are very similar on that. Like, we just are very empathetic. We feel things more. We develop, like, a sense of just, like, understanding quicker, or just wanting to understand because we want to create. And to create, you have to, like, absorb and understand, you know? Were there any points, like, in your journey throughout, whether it be art or outside of art, that you had any, like, hard times or a hard situation that kind of, like, pushed you to keep going, or, like, put you in a situation where you had to, like, take one path or another to, like, figure out your future?
Yeah. Oh my God. So there's a few. There have been some, like, hard endings to relationships. Everyone goes through that. Some abusive situations that I've been through that I feel like, unfortunately, that's pretty common too.
Yeah.
And knowing when to stop, to draw a line, and to stand up for yourself and say, no, this is enough. I can't do this anymore. That's always been a hard thing for me. I don't really want to get into specifics with that. That's just fine. Knowing that it's a common human condition to go through toxic situations with people, and finding out that maybe it's a little bit of you and a little bit of them.
Yes.
And being okay with that, and forgiving yourself for, one, letting it happen, right? Because we all think we're responsible.
Right. And
also just taking accountability for the times where you may have been wrong, even though the other person may have been abusive. You still know, okay, this was a point where I did something that wasn't right, you know?
Sure.
So I think making those decisions has always been really hard. But I think the hardest thing that I've ever done, and I've done a lot of hard stuff, the hardest thing I ever did was I found out I was 7 months pregnant when I was 22, 21. I was almost 22. And
super far along, unexpected.
Super far along. I would say that over time I've realized that I was probably in denial the first 5 months, and then the 2 months before I found out was more me kind of hoping it wasn't true.
Right.
And pretending like, oh, maybe it'll just go away. I have a bit of avoidance issues.
Yeah.
But that's something you really can't avoid.
As much as you want to, it gets to a point that you can.
There were so many physical reasons why I didn't think I was, and a lot of things.
Well, actually, that's very common that it really does happen. A lot of women that they'll be very far along and not know that they're pregnant.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought I was going through so much emotionally at that point in my life that I thought that I was just yo-yoing, because my weight yo-yos a lot with my depression or whatever's going on in my life.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'm going through an emotional breakdown right now, and I'm gaining weight. That was literally what I thought. Yeah. And then, things started moving a lot more, and I was like, something's not right. Yeah. So when I finally had to come to terms with it, I actually went to 2 different places to get checked out before I was like, okay, this is really real. And I had to tell my family. I was living at home. I had dropped out of community college. I was 5 years after graduating high school. I'd just been working crappy jobs and getting in trouble, getting arrested. Like, I was not always as well put together as I am now. And everybody's got a past, right? So
For sure.
no judgments, though. But
no judgments.
it was hard, you know, because it was one of those things where I knew in my gut that adoption was the best solution, that I couldn't do anything because of where I was in the term. My family was not ready to have another kid in the house. I wasn't stable enough. I was working crappy jobs, and, you know, the partner that I was with at the time also had some stuff going on that I don't think he would have been ready for.
Right.
And my parents had even considered adopting her themselves, and I said, no, that's not fair, because we're all in a different place, and it's really about what's best for her.
Right.
So I gave her up for adoption.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a huge decision to make at such a young age.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was my rebirth, because she was born, and then it was like, okay, well, I guess life is actually this thing that happens, and maybe I should take it a little more seriously.
Wow.
And I applied to college, and I got in, and I graduated when I was 27, and, you know, everybody's path is different. I think that's a big lesson that I use with my teens, too, is like, dude, your path is your path. If you're not ready for college, don't waste your money.
Right.
Go work, go save some money, you know, figure it out, find yourself before you decide what you want to do.
100%. And thank you. I'm sure it's not easy for you to share and talk about, but like even you just being able to represent, like, you do have a choice over yourself. You have a choice over your body, especially like as being, if you are women identifying or just in general. I feel like a lot of the time we're meant to feel like we don't have a choice, and we have to, if something happens because of judgment or preconceived notions or how society is, that you're forced into a position. And like, it's just very admirable that you're able to use your story and express it in a way that's empowering to other people, to show like you do have a choice. And the decision you made, I'm sure, projected you into the path you were supposed to be, and also that child into the path that they were supposed to be, which is just so empowering. And thank you so much, because as you said, our stories, it's not just like, you know, everything's always like on the up and up and the positive. Like, there's those lows that push us to be able to have to face ourselves in the mirror and be like, what's important?
Yep.
What am I going to do with this life? And how am I going to make the most out of limited life left? You know what I mean? And that's exactly what you've continued to do. And you're even showing that child like how amazing it is to be able to take the struggle and turn it to success. So just shout out to you, Pheebz, for real. You're just an amazing person.
Also young world.
You know, we got a little deep, but I do want to get back to a little bit of your art before we wrap up. I know, like, they're looking at us in the room like, what the fuck, guys? It's been over an hour. I know, time. Shout out also.
Has it really been an hour?
It's been an hour. Like, we've been chopping it up. But I do want to ask you about, I know you've had galleries, you've had your own, like, aside from all the millions of businesses and community projects and different things that you're involved in, you yourself are an artist, and your personal art for galleries that you've done. I know there's a little bit of like nature / hiking involved in that. What is your connection to like nature and hiking, and how does that play into your art? Okay, so I've always been a big person. That's never going to change. Even when I'm my most fit, I'm still large. I'm tall. I'm curvy. Thick.
Thick.
Extra thick.
But to be thick, but I'm thicker.
And, Spit that.
So I, my friend did the Appalachian Trail, and
Oh, my brother did that.
I want to do it so bad.
Cool. Yes.
I really want to do it.
Yeah.
And they're also a curvy person who has like been through a lot with body like dysmorphia, eating disorders, all kinds of stuff. Same, right? So I had a friend who said, "Oh my gosh, you have to do this hike with me. There's a lake in the mountains. You got to do it." And so we took a day trip, and we hiked Lonesome Lake in Franconia Notch, and it was life-changing. That experience for me was so crazy. I didn't know it was part of the Appalachian Trail till I saw the signs. Yeah. Knowing that my friend had done the trail, I was thoroughly convinced by the time I got home that night. I was like, I'm going to do this. So for the next couple of years, I was doing some serious conditioning. I was doing overnights by myself, totally underprepared. My first overnight alone was a 3-night stint in the presidentials. I did Mount Washington.
You mean like an overnight in the wilderness for people
carrying my stuff
right?
on my back. Yep.
Oh, snap.
Like backpacking, doing the hardest trails possible.
That's some badass shit.
I was ripped. I was like, it was amazing. There were situations where I probably almost died, but we'll just pretend they never happened. And
made you stronger though.
Literally, like I didn't think that 10:30 at night in July it'd be snowing, but it was snowing on Mount Washington, right?
That's insane.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. And so I was doing that for a while, and then COVID hit, and I tried doing the long trail of Vermont, sprained my ankle day 4, went for 9 more days, got 70 miles. That's it. 2 weeks, it was only 70 miles. I was like...
The effort is real, though.
It's real, especially in northern Vermont. It's hardcore. Yeah. So a lot of my personal work, especially when I need to slow down or put myself into a different mindset, has been based on photographs that I take on my hikes. Cool. So I've been doing a lot of... I had a show last year at the Armory in Somerville, and all of those pieces were ink wash paintings of hikes I've taken. I had another show in 2019 where it was all paintings and drawings that I had done while I was hiking. And just, I go back to that a lot, especially because when I'm hiking for so long, I almost feel like I'm a computer. And my eyeballs are scanning all the time. Even if I'm not actively making a mental note, my subconscious is.
Definitely.
And it gets to the point where I'll be able to just draw without thinking about it because my brain just recognizes all of the patterns. Yeah. So it's very much turn your brain off and just do what you want kind of thing.
Very special. That's cool.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
And it's very awesome, too, that you can mix the passion of, like, nature and hiking and how that makes you feel good to play it into, like, the self-expression piece and being able to use that as almost like a self-therapy, I guess you could say.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's different for me. So, like, going to the gym, right? I feel like sometimes going to the gym for me is very much number-based, very much... more rigorous on my the way that I think about my body.
Right.
But when I'm hiking, it's never like that because as long as I'm putting one foot in front of the other, I'll get there.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how long it takes me, I can do it. And whenever I get to that point, it's like I'm so happy. I celebrate my body in a totally different way. Yeah. I never feel big when I'm doing it because everything else is so much bigger. Wow. And you're just like there's a certain peace that comes with it. Mm-hmm. Plus the adrenaline, I'm sure, has a lot to do with it too.
Definitely.
But yeah.
I just have to shout out too, like it's super synchronized and like thank you to anyone who's listening in who if you struggle with like body dysmorphia or just like self-judgment or feeling like you don't fit in your own skin, just like realize that there are so many different activities. It doesn't have to be putting yourself on a scale every day. It doesn't have to be putting yourself in a gym or getting a gym membership. Like I love to box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Boxing was like a therapeutic mental thing for me, but also like hiking and being in nature and like getting that sense of like rejuvenation of something that's not like, all right, I'm marking this by each mile and I'm marking it by how many calories I burned.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, don't put that pressure of stress on yourself if you're somebody who's already dealing with that self-judgment. Find something that makes you feel good instead of counting the calories and the numbers. Because at the end of the day, like, you're beautiful of who you are, and it's really about how you feel inside. And I just want to like bounce off what you said. Franconia Notch was one of the first places that I hiked with my best friend Lauren. Shout out Lauren. She had brought me up there. We went on a Saturday, very early in the morning, because it gets busy on the trail sometimes. It was like the springtime, so you know it was like nice out. And there is just something unexplainable about like doing the whole hike, slipping on the way up, tripping on rocks, you get cuts on your arms. Like, it's a process, it's a journey. It's literally like comparable to life, like as you're stepping through these phases and you're growing and you're becoming better, but you fall and you slip and you gotta, you know, climb back up there and you go a couple steps back to get a couple steps forward. And when you reach the top though, and you get to see that view and that it just pivots your mind to this like eagle eye point of view where you're like looking down on the world below you and you're like, this is just so breathtaking. It puts you at a perspective that you're like, I just did this. I took my physical self and brought myself to this point of being able to look down on this whole mountain I just climbed, and like really realizing that our mountain in life that we're climbing is the same exact thing. Like, every day we're just trying to get better, get stronger. We're falling, we're slipping, we're tripping, we're trying.
Yep.
But when you make it to that top point and you look down on your journey and you're like, wow, I fucking did that. You know what I mean? That's like that sense of self where you're like, okay, I can keep going, and like I can believe in myself to like keep living whatever this crazy life is. Who nobody can really describe what this fucking crazy life is.
Yep.
But it's different for each one of us, and like making that journey the best that you can for who you are. And you know, Pheebz, you're just like so awesome. Like I said, we've been literally chopping it up for like over an hour. I like have so much more that we could say. But I do want to shout out Adam Kook, Adam Kookin.
Hey, Kooktron 9000.
Kooktron 9000. He's shaking his head. He's like, nah. Shout out Adam from SATV. You know, he's been a huge help to me being able to start season 3 of Old Soul Young World. You know, getting me into the studio and getting set up, and with all the crazy ideas that I had, he believed in the visions that I had and has helped put that into fruition. And then, you know, one day you were here painting SATV's windows, and Adam's like, oh, we should all chill. And then, you know, we met, we talked a little bit, and I'm like, wow, this girl is doing so much great stuff. But I am going to put him on blast now. I'm going to put you on blast that I heard when you were, I think, in college, that you covered yourself in beats and did some type of a...
Yo, he told me that.
Shout out, Kook. What's up with the beats? Like, you just love beats, or you try and be like a Bloody Mary installation?
Okay,
like,
beets
what was the
are
vibe?
so cool, and I didn't know how they can actually be delicious.
And we're talking about the vegetables. Correct?
Yeah, they're like they taste like dirt, but it's good, and the natural dyeing properties of it.
Yeah.
Beets have been used for a lot of different stuff. I mean, dehydrated beets are used to dye food like a purplish pink color.
Okay.
There's so many things that you can do with beets, and I had no idea. And we were in this weird class called Food and Culture, and I was just obsessed with beets at the time. And
she was a beet fanatic.
yeah, I did some, I don't know, we were supposed to do some sort of like performance piece about food. So I painted my face white, put a black light on, put a white shirt on, and I just like ate a raw beet. But like I was like ripping into it and spitting it out, and by the end of the 11-minute video, which is ridiculous, like I was just
11
covered.
minutes of you eating a beet. That's amazing.
Class
I have
the
to
whole
see
thing.
this.
I had like an Aphex Twin song like on it. It was like so, oh my God.
That's
It's just
fucking
so
awesome.
self-indulgent art school bullshit. Like, it's so funny.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it might still be on the internet somewhere, but I don't know why anybody would want to watch it. But I've had
Now it's out in the public, so people might go look it up.
I've
You'd
had
have, like,
some people be
1,000
like,
views.
wow, you know, that was like a really amazing, intense thing to watch. And I'm like, really? You know, I took some stills and stuff.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I think I continued on that wave for a little while where we had like a food and culture dinner all together, and my friend and her friend were feeding each other spaghetti dressed as witches, and I was just rubbing beets on my face through the whole dinner. It was like
Art is very subjective.
it's like,
is
oh
what
my
we
God.
know.
No, but nowadays, like, who I am as an artist, and all my friends who'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
But you gotta start somewhere, right? Some
It's
people
legit
start
white
with the
people
beats.
shit.
That's some white people shit for real. I will say that for sure.
Yeah. Beats
No.
are cool. I like beats.
That's cool. That's
Yep.
cool. I love that. How do you feel about Adam Kukin for telling me that story?
You know, it's on brand because Kook and I have a very good friendship that's mostly just throwing each other under the bus.
I love that. That's how all good friendships are, you know?
Yep.
But you know, like I said, as we're wrapping up, I just got like a couple more questions for you if you're willing to talk to me a little bit longer.
Yeah, of course.
So I ask a question to all my guests that come on the show, and I'm just wondering, I want to ask you the same. So starting Old Soul Young World, very relatable to your concept. Everyone would call me an old soul when I was younger. I took it very offensively. I was very deep. I was very emotional. I was writing poetry in 5th grade. I was like, you know, just that weird off-brand type girl that like I felt out of place, but it's because my soul had a very deep purpose. I'm just wondering, through you being Pheebz, through Crazy Pants Art, through all the initiatives you've done in your journey over the last over 10 years, what does it mean to you to be an old soul in a young world, or just like have a soul or be a soul, or whatever that means to you?
That's a cool question. I mean, I definitely relate to that. I was always, you know, 5 going on 30, like I was that kid. And I always wanted to be an adult, and I hated being treated like a kid. My daughter is the same way. She's 13 now, so it's a little different. But when she was little, it was like, yo, even the waitresses at like restaurants acknowledge me. I'm ordering my food, you know, and she'd get so upset if they didn't acknowledge her. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, old soul, young world. I know I can relate. I know Ananda can relate. It means different things to different people. It is definitely a bit of a red flag if an older man says it to you. Look out for groomers.
Big facts.
Yeah. But I think, you know, being an old soul doesn't mean that you act like you're old. Like, it's not like, I'm an old lady and I sit at home and I don't do anything and I don't go out. Because I'm always on the up and up with everything because I work with teens. I have to be fresh all the time. Mm-hmm. So, yo, I don't know.
How about a soul purpose?
Soul purpose. But that sounds... When I hear soul purpose, I think of like one singular purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And I think my one soul purpose is to keep it going, to cultivate. Mm-hmm. Cultivate has been the word that I've been like really stuck on for a few years now. My pro-black said contribute. And I felt like the best way to contribute for me was to cultivate, to plant seeds, to water the flowers, to watch them grow, help them grow, transplant them into other things. Mm-hmm. And that can go as far as, you know, how I'm educating the kids. It could be as far as just making a mark. I think it's important just to make a mark. It doesn't matter if people don't remember you. Just keep making the mark. So I think That's my sole purpose.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything you say, I just very synchronized correlate to you. Like, I just want to bring up, before I started Old Soul Young World, I read a book by Evan Carmichael.
Okay.
And he was somebody who I looked up to as an influencer and motivational entrepreneur. And he really came from nothing and worked his way up. And the book that I got was called My One Word. And when you read the book and you go through it, the purpose of it is by the end of the book, you're really creating one word. And that one word is what everything you're doing in your life plays back to. So everything that you do is always going to correlate to that one word. And I ended up picking the word inspire. And when you say everything keeps coming back to the word cultivate, I just feel like cultivate is like your one word. And that's really like what you are going to continue to do, not only through art, but through your advocacy and just through speaking out on the show and talking about your struggles. Like, you are cultivating a future of openness, of vulnerability, and through self-expression, that in the past when we were growing up, like, we weren't able to really see as many people who looked like us or felt like us or sounded like us speaking out about the struggle. It was more about the success, you know, but it always takes those struggles to get to that success.
Literally.
So thank you, Pheebz, for sharing, for sharing everything that has played into making you who you are. And before we, get into where people can find you and all of that, I do want to give you the opportunity, if you want to say to anybody listening in, do you have any advice or motivational, anything that you could pass on to any other people who may be in similar shoes that you were in when you were starting out?
Yo, keep going. Don't change your style just because you think it's what people want. There's a place for you somewhere. I think that there's more opportunity out there than people like to display, and there's a seat for everybody at the table.
Oof.
Also young.
I've always said my table is always big enough. You know what I'm saying? People try to say, oh no, there's only certain amount of seats at the table. Your table can be as big as you want. Last Supper type vibes. Invite everybody. Help everybody create, cultivate, motivate, collaborate, all the 8s.
Sit on the floor if you have to.
Sit on the floor if you have to. Put beats in your mouth if you have to. Whatever it takes. But just keep going. Don't stop. Don't give up. If I gave up, if Pheebz gave up, we would not be here being able to speak right now. So
yep.
I'm super grateful for that you kept going. And, can you let the people know where they can find you, where they can connect with you, reach out to you, collab with you, say what up to you?
Sure. So right now I don't have a website because I'm slacking. But you can find me on Instagram at Pheebz CPA.
Hey.
And you can find me on Facebook, Phoebe Crazy Pants. Where else? You can find me at Artists for Humanity Tuesday through Thursday while I'm teaching. You can come to our open studios. You can find me at Humphrey Street in Upham's Corner. You can sometimes find me at SATV painting windows. Yeah, I'm around.
Hit her up. She's around. She's got things to say. She's got knowledge to share. So, make sure y'all check out Pheebz. Check out Crazy Pants Art. Make sure you hit her up. See what she's up to in this coming year. As you can tell from everything she's done, creating change, cultivating in the community, but empowering youth to also be able to do the same. That's what we have to do. And as she said, never stop, never give up. Always keep going. No matter how crooked that mountain gets, no matter how many times you slip up and fall, there's always a top. And don't ever listen to other people who are hating on you, judging you, questioning you. Anybody can have something to say, but you're the only one that knows your sole purpose. So guys, make sure you check out Pheebz. Check out Crazy Pants Art. Again, thank you so much for coming on, Pheebz. And tune in with me for another motivational guest next week on Old Soul in a Young World with your host, Jessie Ellie. Hey! That's a wrap. Cheers! Woo-hoo.